Hey everyone, here's a larch hedge, Tamarack, that's probably 6 years old. I don't know. I gotta look at some stuff I wrote down, but probably about that. And starts off slow, couple years, kind of moves real slow, kind of like a nut tree. I found, although they're very vigorous. They're very resilient, more than a nut tree. They're gonna stick if it's a wet spot and the transplanting was done well. But they go slow for a couple years and then they just go super fast. Not maybe as much as a white pine, but pretty close. They're up there in pine poplar category of just cruisers. And this is all, there's white pine also in here. There's 2 rows of trees here, white pine and Japanese larch. I like the Japanese larch. Seems faster growing. It seems kind of like a better hedge, like more consistent hedge. And so I've been planting those mostly. They seem perfectly hardy and a little straighter. And this is top level lumber, timber tree. So larch, tamarack, epic timber tree, high value timber. So lumber, so you want very straight trunks. One good reason to plant them fairly close together. These are pretty good. They're not quite as straight as a white pine. I mean, white pines are amazing in that regard. It really helps their usability for some. Otherwise, their wood has a lot to be desired in terms of strength and especially durability. But probably the most valuable aspect of a timber tree in this climate and a lot of climates, there's a value that's hard to come by. Only a few trees really have it, and it's the premium really factor in wood. It's like what we have as the most limiting factor. There's plenty of good strong wood, right? So what's the thing that's most lacking in a lot of wood that we really need? It'd be good if we had 5 or 10 species to choose from that grew quickly and well. Rot resistance. So we have like white oak. It takes a long time, doesn't even really grow up here. We're planting a lot of it. And we have black locust, doesn't grow very straight. It's quite difficult to work with. It's tough to get a millable log out of black locust to some extent. I know there is shipmast locust, which we should all plant probably. But yeah, there's not a whole lot. There's larch. Tamarack is right on that. That is the fastest grower. It's like a white oak that grows faster. Now, it may not be as rot resistant as white oak. Under certain conditions, it might be more, and under other conditions, asking old timers that kind of thing is a really good idea. I don't think, honestly, anyone has done the proper research to answer that question. There's an incredibly lacking amount of information in terms of rot resistance of timber, of lumber as a whole, across, at least in the English language, as far as I can tell. Mark Krawczyk's new book has a table with one kind of study's take on it, and it has some glaring errors in it. No fault of Mark's. It's a great book. It's just the reference that's in there is for another work, which has maybe some good findings, but also some really weird ones that make you question the validity of the whole thing. So anyway, we need more rot resistant lumber, a lot more. And it's nice if it grows fast and is straight and millable and not crazy hard to work with. Super hard density. Larch is probably top of the list as far as I can tell, as far as just the kind of workhorse of rot resistant timber. We've planted bald cypress, which is incredible, but doesn't really grow so well here. Nice hedge. It's a visual screen and a windbreak, and eventually for lumber. I'll probably let it succeed the white pine, although maybe both will coexist to some extent for at least a while. Beautiful day. It has a beautiful fall color. It's the latest foliage, arguably. Like larch season, tamarack season, as I call it, is like Halloween. Like really late. You can go out on the lakes. It's the last thing to fire off, like the last bit of color in the landscape. Pretty much. Although, as my son would say, when I told him it's beech season now, beech leaves are about all that remains besides larch. This is a few days ago. He said, pine leaves are on still too. He's right. The pine leaves are still on. Touche, little man. But the color, late color, and the beautiful color that it is, and the fact that it's deciduous a deciduous conifer. I didn't say that, but that's a pretty, just very unusual feature. Gives it particular utility from a landscape architecture and design perspective too. So sometimes we use it that way in our design business from a visual perspective. Although usually it is nice to have, there's not a lot of trees that keep their leaves all year that are evergreen. So if it was evergreen, I'd almost like that a little more.